Conversation. Ow! Something stopped me.
What? Hello and welcome to the Conversation. I'm Chad McCanna.
And I'm Hyle Russell. You
Was he quoting The Mask?
No, you realize something. His dick.
Oh, he was digging previously.
He was digging with his penis, you see, and he hit something with his penis.
Oh, yes, that's right. He found a digging implement in his pants.
I bet that hurt. I bet that hurt too.
Mm-hmm. It's really hard to keep track of the ape raper. He gets up to all sorts of shenanigans.
Yes, well, this episode we will be discussing some rumors about a potential new Donkey Kong Universe game. Maybe it's bullshit. I don't know. This is the 4th season and we're still waiting on Diddy Kong Racing Wii U, so you know how these things tend to go, but...
Hashtag I am mildly annoyed by Kevin Callahan.
But let's get to some due diligence first, because I feel like that's important. And why is that important? Because... Money
is now in the picture, because we want to try and bring you guys a higher quality of entertainment, bang for your buck.
We want something that's actually professional.
Yeah, on occasion. So we have a Patreon set up where there are a number of different rewards for you as an individual, and then milestones that if we all collectively hit with donations, well, not we, you guys. If you guys give us money, then it can kind of unlock different fun projects that we do. One of them is involuntary twitching, which is a weekly stream I do every Sunday. Yeah. Unfortunately, I had to miss last week's Sunday stream because it fell on Valentine's Day, but hey, there's a fresh one this week. We're finishing up Donkey Kong Country and going on to Donkey Kong Country 3 because who cares about game order?
Yeah, well, Valentine's Day, it's also the day after Cobb Cock Day, so I mean, I'm sure you're pretty hungover.
Oh yeah, it's Boxing Cobb.
Yes, I also have an announcement I would like to make. The milestone for the slush fund twitched, it's currently set at $8.50 a month. I've decided to lower that.
What?
Yeah. If we reach $6.50 a month,
whoa.
Yeah. I'm trying to sweeten the deal here. So if you guys can get us the $6.50 a month, I will begin having a weekly slush fund live on Twitch. And then, of course, later put on YouTube. But yeah, so that's now at $6.50 a month. So to give you guys an extra incentive to back us on Patreon.
That's amazing. We're gonna wind up having like daily content on the site if these people keep throwing money at us.
If we can get to the Hyle quits his job tier, then yeah, we will.
It'll be all Donkey Konga 2 all the time.
By the way, I am sending out all the stickers this week. I've got 40 stickers, 40 people to initially mail stickers to, and then more so after that. And I hope you enjoy the amazing stickers you can get for backing us on Patreon at only $1 U.S. currency.
I also want to announce another Patreon reward that's a new one as of last Saturday, so we didn't have time to talk about it on the last podcast. DK Vine now has a Minecraft server. I have fallen head over heels in love with Minecraft. Yeah. And if you donate at the $2 a month tier, you will be whitelisted to the server, and you can come along. I have some ideas for projects that we can all do together and individually as contests, and people could be rewarded with creative mode, or I don't know. It's going to be a lot of fun. Help me come into the world and figure out what to do with it. That's one of the great things about Minecraft, is that it is so collaborative. So I'm really excited to hang out in that world with all of you and make some really cool, fun, DKU oriented or just interesting projects.
So let me get this straight, Chad. At $2 a month, not only do you get the Conversation a day early,
right,
but you also get access to a Minecraft server?
That is indeed correct, Hyle.
Oh my God, $2 a month. That's a steal. We're losing money on this.
Yeah, we'd have to be insane to try and do this. I'm so depressed.
Anyway, so yeah, we don't like asking for money, so we're not doing that, and we feel like we're the rewards are pretty cool. So and it's
a Minecraft server does cost money, so this is really to offset that,
right? But all the money does go back into DK Vine in one form or fashion or another. So it's to make it a better site and a better community for everybody involved, and. Right. Yeah.
By the way, you can find that at dkvine.com/Patreon or patreon.com/dkvine.
Yes, and thank you to everybody who has already backed us. I mean, seriously, $1 a month, it means the world. Seriously. Yeah, but as far as the conversation goes, remember, you can always call the DK Vine hotline at 1-281-410-KONG, that being 5664. We've been having a lot of these, topic-oriented calls, but if you have something completely, non-related to an episode of the week, feel free to call in, because we will get to that call eventually in a call sack episode, and we'll be having another one of those coming up relatively soon.
Yeah, our call sack is already bursting at the seams. So keep the calls coming. Try and make them better and better, because the more calls we get, the more risk we run of having to kind of pare down the list to only the best ones. So
that's right.
Mamechi, maybe cool it on the duck questions.
Oh, for the love of God! Why doesn't he just start his own duck podcast at this point? Seriously.
Well, because that's what he's trying to turn our podcast into.
Also, the DK Vine forum. It's at dkvine.com/forum. It's a community for like-minded weirdos who love Donkey Kong and the extended Donkey Kong universe, made famous by Rare in the 1990s and continuing to this day.
Now, Hyle, would you say that there's been a better time to join?
No, I really cannot say that. Looking back at the history that's before me, I can see no better time than right now to join the forum.
Fantastic. As for this show, subscribe to us on iTunes if you enjoy this. Give us a rating, 5 stars, please. And also just turn on a friend to it. Tune in, turn on, and I don't care if you drop out or not. We've already got your hit. You can also find us all the hell over social media: Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube. We have a presence with unique content on all of those things. Hyle and I do the Facebook and Twitter respectively. Tumblr is run by the incomparable Cameron Regal. And YouTube,
incomparable sounds like you just can't understand him. That's incomprehensible. Okay. Oh no.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Both of those things. He's always rambling about renders from Mario Party 6. And YouTube, we all throw crap on there. So
we do.
Check all those things out.
That's right. Also, finally, tell your friends about the Kongversation and DK Vine.
Yeah.
If you think they're interested in any of the shit we talk about, let them know. Get the word out. Help us.
Yeah, become a proselytizer for the Church of DK Vine.
That's right. It does nobody any favors if you just keep this place a secret to yourself.
Yeah, we're going to get that tax exemption status one of these days.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? I've still got to do my taxes. It's...
Uncle Sam's he's wetting his beak as far as our Patreon goes.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Obama. God.
Yeah. Why did Obama have to come along and invent the concept of taxation? What a terrible president.
It's not in my constitution. We should take over. We should now that the Oregon Wildlife Refuge has cleared out, we should take it over.
Yeah, because I respect the original mantra of the Boston Tea Party: no taxation. So anyway, we're talking about young Conker. What the hell is this?
Oh, I was going to say we should take over the Oregon Wildlife Refuge and hold the Kongversation there, because that would be cheap. It's a cheap way to do it, and we could apparently stay there for about a month and a half before they kick us out.
Right, as long as people send plenty of snacks.
And dildos. Gotta have the dildos.
Don't forget dildos.
All right. Sorry.
Yep. Anything you can buy with an FSA card.
Yeah. Young Conker. Speaking of dildos, there was never any dildos in Conker, I guess. Which is surprising when you think about it.
Yeah. There was cog rape, but no dildos.
Yeah, there was. That's some jokes have not aged well in Bad Fur Day.
Dude, I felt really uncomfortable replaying that what is it, Bat Tower section on Bad Fur Day
Bats
on
Tower.
Rare Replay. Yeah, Bats Tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, that made me really uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's one of those jokes that seemed like fine wine in like the early 2000s, I'm sure, but it did not age like fine wine.
No, it did not. Especially when like you're in control of walking them up to their assailant. I mean, you're essentially just as bad as the rapist in the game as playing as Conker, and they're even telling you, no, stop. It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, granted, they are cogs, but they're, cogs with googly eyes and personalities. So, Oh, anyway, well, maybe there were dildos in those presents you collected in Pocket Tales. We don't know. There's literally no way to know.
Right.
So, and because nobody at Rare remembers making Pocket Tales.
We asked Carrie Gunn about Pocket Tales. She was one of the artists on the handheld team, and all she could reference was, "Did you find the cow?" Yes, we found the cow, Carrie.
So, yeah, young Conker rumors. What is going on? Now, this kind of snuck up on me because I didn't pay this any mind up until like last week or two when I realized there might be something to this. And I believe you're in the same boat, made by Ted of Ted's Boats fame. So on January 7th, and this is the weirdest way this story could have started. Like, this is just like the stupidest sentence I've ever read on this show. On January 7th, it was reported through his Twitter that TNA professional wrestler Ken Anderson.
Wait, TNA, is that a new wrestling organization?
They've been around since 2002. It stands for Total Nonstop Action. But you see, it has a clever double meaning, Chad.
Yeah.
It can mean something else.
Yeah. I think it means breasts and behindes.
Mm-hmm. That would be a better name than TNA wrestling.
Although that would be B&B, which is a completely different thing.
Which would you
like a continental breakfast, brother?
Oh, don't. Hulk Hogan's a racist, right?
So he can also serve you granola. He could be a racist and serve granola.
Chad, 2016, you cannot make cog rape jokes and you cannot make Hulk Hogan jokes. Those are the rules. You don't want any SJWs coming after you. SJWs, social justice, SJAs. What are they?
Hashtag trigger warning.
I don't know. Something red pill.
We'll be blacklisted from the iTunes store. It's inevitable.
Yeah. Anyway, TNA professional wrestler Ken Anderson, who formerly went by the moniker Mr. Kennedy in WWE, was recording lines for a top super secret squirrel video game. His words on his Twitter. Top super secret squirrel video game. So, okay, whatever, Ken Anderson of TNA wrestling fame. But some websites of, I guess, I don't know. I don't think there were websites of any like great like notoriety as far as like legit video game journalism. But then again, what is hashtag Gamergate, right? Right.
Yeah.
So, people, there are people who are jumping to the conclusion that, a secret squirrel game. It must be Conker. But I don't think anybody on the DK Vine forum was convinced of that, or even jumped to that conclusion.
There are very few squirrel video game characters, but there's a lot weird about this. I mean, of course, if there was another Conker game, it would require voice actors.
Okay, it would require voice actors, but TNA professional wrestler Ken Anderson. I mean, TNA wrestling, at least at one point, was actually located in Orlando, so I could see Left-Handed Games actually calling on his services. That would make sense to get him in Lobo Destroyo. But as far as I know, Ken Anderson isn't doing anything in Lobo Destroyo, and
you'd think if someone knew about that, it would be us.
Right. Well, I mean, if there's any squirrel characters in Lobo Destroyo, we're not telling. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was Conker. You know, why would you? Because this is a weird story from the start. Just starting on this angle of the Ken Anderson, whose entire gimmick in professional wrestling is saying his name really loudly.
Really? Is that?
Yeah.
He just goes,
Ken Anderson.
He's Mr. Anderson. And
really?
and then in
Like-
WWE, he apparently was Mr. Kennedy. I actually did research on this guy. I actually watched videos of him on YouTube because I did watch wrestling back in the day, but I haven't stayed really up on it as much.
Is his Mr. Anderson thing a Hugo Weaving reference?
No, it was because he was called Mr. Kennedy in one company, and he couldn't use that name in another company, so he went by his birth name, which is Ken Anderson. But it just
do not infringe on our intellectual property.
So it was an inadvertent Matrix reference because
Okay.
who makes Matrix references anymore? So speaking of Conker, so okay, one, the weird thing was Ken Anderson himself. Bizarre way to start this story. Two, there have been no indications that a new Conker game was coming from either anyone at Rare or anywhere else in Microsoft Game Studios. And granted, that doesn't mean it's not impossible, but
Project Spark came out of nowhere.
right. But we also
Or at
had
least Conker's inclusion in Project Spark.
right. We did have almost a year's heads up for that, but at the same time, yeah. I mean, granted, it was announced out of nowhere. But I don't know. It just seemed like, especially coming right on the heels of Project Spark, it just seemed like not likely, and it just seemed like people were taking kind of a shot in the dark, especially people who don't really follow the world like we do. It's like, oh, are they making a new Conker game? Well, no, they just made a new Conker game, and everybody hated it because people, I don't know, because nostalgia is a blinding influence, and people refuse to even give it a chance. But
Yeah. Although, say what you will about the limitations of Project Spark, I think that at least like the art style is a fantastic direction to go for.
No. I like Project Spark, Conker's Big Reunion for what it is, but I'm just saying people hated it, and people hated the art style too. Like people, you remember those YouTube downvotes, right? I mean, people just not the JonTron brain trust of the world did not really approve. I don't know what JonTron himself thought of it.
There was an Overlook Hotel elevator's worth of noseblood as a result of. Although there's a third thing that sort of lends some incredulity to this whole statement from Mr. Anderson. It's that secret squirrel is just a phrase. It's a colloquialism. Are you familiar with it?
Well, there's a cartoon character, Secret Squirrel.
Oh, sure. But secret agents, like, spooks, like in the CIA, FBI, they are undercover police officers are referred to as secret squirrels. Yeah. So it's just like, it's a way of, if you want to not parse his statement his tweet, it's a fucking tweet, it's not a statement. If you want to not parse his tweet literally, he may it's like saying super duper, he's just trying to put another, clever adjective to describe how secret it is.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, I don't think Ken Anderson is really up on the lingo like that. The antiquated lingo from the Cold War, where you refer to something as a secret squirrel.
All right. Just throwing that out there is another reason why it doesn't even have to be a squirrel game. That could just be part of what he's saying.
It's a good thing this wasn't a tweet from Richard Gere. This gerbil is going deep undercover.
Yeah, someone would have alerted SPCA.
So okay, so yeah, that was like something that happened, and a couple weeks went by, and I thought nothing of it. But at the end of January, this is where the story starts to get some legs, some little squirrely legs. Someone discovered, I guess, a page that wasn't meant to be seen yet in the Windows Store.
Okay.
And it was basically, I'm not sure exactly how they uncovered it, but they have screenshots documenting it does exist. or did exist. It's since been removed, but it was a page for a game under games in the Windows Store, rated teen, called Young Conker.
Yeah, that's strange. I mean, are we... So I only caught wind of this, well after it was pulled down. Can we 100% confirm that this just isn't a hoax?
People apparently went to it while it was still up. People went to it. We have multiple people confirming that it did exist, and it's since been removed, so we can't verify it. But we have are the screenshots that people took of the page itself.
Strange. And this, so it was in the Windows Store. But it had an ESRB rating.
Had an ESRB rating, teen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and was there any product description? Is this
Nope.
My immediate thought is that, in light of all the things we outlined above, that sort of make this seem not quite so solid. Maybe this was just a test of the Windows Store, some new way of displaying products, and they accidentally pushed this to production instead of doing it on like a testing environment. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think that it necessarily...
Are you saying Young Conker was just like a dummy name they put in?
Yeah. Like it could have just been someone who was a developer on the Windows Store team, and they wanted to test how their storefront displays something, so they said, Young Conker. I mean, I don't know.
I see your point, and I thought the same thing, but I think it's still a stretch. Like out of all the things you could put in as a dummy title, why Young Conker?
I don't know. It is strange.
I mean, this isn't like Kevin Callahan, screaming at us from the weeds. This is actually something that appeared on something owned by Microsoft.
Right. No, I'm with you there. It's suspicious. It's just, it's just remarkably specific. But we have heard nothing about even the remote possibility of this. You would think that, like, Chris Seaver would have made some kind of sly allusion to it at some point or something. I don't know. It's strange, isn't it?
I don't know. Chris Seaver could go one way or another. He could either be like very, very coy, or he could just not give a shit, especially if he's not involved.
Yeah, well, that would be a way to remove him as a necessary participant to age down Conker.
Well, okay, so let's operate under the assumption that this is a thing, because the conceit of this episode is Young Conker rumors. So let's just play into it.
All
and
right.
I mindlessly speculating, sure, why not?
Well, before we get into that, we have some listener calls. Shall we take one?
Oh, maybe Chris Seaver called in, and maybe Ken Anderson called in. Oh, I hope Ken Anderson called in. I have so many questions.
Hello? This is Chris Seaver. I've forgotten how to speak at a normal rate.
Hey, this is Mitchell. I wanted to talk about Young Conker. So I kind of don't want it. That might seem crass, but I don't know. The beginning of Bad Fur Day and the two games preceding Bad Fur Day for Conker tell a very concise and very well told story about how he came to be at least kind of the way he is. There's always some speculation about this event caused him to become drunk, or this event caused him to become kind of okay with just killing people, but it just seems like there's not a whole lot of room for another whole story. Maybe I'm wrong though. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye.
Thank you for the call, Mitchell. Mr. MF Wolf from off of the forum. So, I would disagree with the idea that there's not enough room to tell a story, because the events of Conker's Bad Fur Day took place in a 24-hour period, or maybe more like a 30-hour period. So I think that the fact, Conker's Pocket Tales came out in 99, and Conker's Bad Fur Day was 2 years later, but that's 2 years worth of potential Bad Fur Days, or that style of narrative to have taken place.
Right. I mean, and a title like Young Conker is big enough; it could take place before Pocket Tales. Granted, if it's rated teen, I think it might undermine Pocket Tales. I have to admit that I necessarily don't want to believe this. I'm kind of with Mitchell. And it's not that I don't want to believe it because I don't believe it. I don't want to believe it because I don't really want it to be a thing. And maybe it's and yes, I would love more Conker games, but at the same time, it's almost like you and I have a very specific, I think, image of where we want Conker to go after Bad Fur Day, and I liked Big Reunion because it completely sidestepped any immediate follow-up to Bad Fur Day, and where Conker was at pretty much worked. They kept it vague enough where,
he could still be the king, or he might not be, and the only certainty is that he's alive and Birdie's alive.
And he also seemed a little bit more self-aware too, in that game. Like he a little down on himself, but not like horribly depressed anymore. But he was just like, yeah, I'm kind of a piece of shit, aren't I?
Right.
But so I liked Big Reunion. I was skeptical about Big Reunion, and it won me over. I was one of the only ones that won over me and Agent Ape. But this whole idea of having a Conker game that's a prequel, well, okay. For starters, we've already had like games that take place before Bad Fur Day, so it would have to take place in a very specific window if you're going to acknowledge Pocket Tales and or Diddy Kong Racing at all. And my fear is this game would just carelessly steamroll over it to get to the poof jokes.
Now I share that concern. I think that if any team, especially a non-rare team, tried to make a Conker game, they would draw sole referential ground from Bad Fur Day. They would completely ignore Diddy Kong Racing and Conker's Pocket Tales. That's definitely a problem. But here's the question: would you turn down a new Conker game because it does not reference those events?
I don't know. Well, okay. I don't want some sort of, and I'm loath to use this term because it's thrown around too liberally these days, reboot. I don't think they would ever acknowledge it as, oh, it's a reboot of Conker's backstory. Yeah, you remember that Game Boy Color game? It's gone. They would never do that. It would be more like a Star Fox Zero type situation where, it just, fuck Aunt Nudie. Here's a game.
Ignores it. Yeah. Well, thankfully we have a pretty, much like the Banjo series with Log, the Lord of Games, we also have the programmer in the Conker universe. So if we need to fan wank our way out of something, we probably can. Well,
that would be an extreme fan wank. You could probably fan wank it just as the game presents itself. You could find a way to make it work. Last week we talked about Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, and I kind of fan wanked that Donkey Kong was more aggressive in that game because he was pissed off that Kongs were staging the coup d'etat, and Kong's from Donkey Kong Island, and he felt that made him angry. But you can fan wank away, and nothing is impossible to fan wank. It's just. I think Mitchell's right. Like the Conker's Pocket Tales is revered by our community and pretty much our community alone. I mean, there's some outsider fans of Pocket Tales, I'm sure.
Are there?
Well, they probably made their way to DK Vine by this point, but
I had to remind Rare on one of their own Twitch streams what the evil acorn is.
At least Louise O'Connor mentioned Pocket Tales in that 12 Tales YouTube video they did for Rare Revealed.
That's true. Yeah.
So that was a nice moment. I was like, yeah, Pocket Tales, somebody
acknowledgement.
And yeah, we're the only people on Earth who give a shit about Pocket Tales, as seen by any time we do a Facebook post about it, a video about it, a DKU comics about it. Nobody cares about Pocket Tales.
And it's not even really a good game. It's just it's an okay game. It's just really weird.
It's charming. It's charmingly bizarre. Not
Yeah.
not in the Jungle Beat way where it's just chicken head plant. It's acorn people, I guess.
It has this like internal consistency,
Yeah.
while being batshit crazy.
Where Jungle Beat doesn't seem to have much consistency, except hey, that's kooky.
Right.
Pocket Tales, it's very much like it's everything's grounded. Even the
And there's
absurd.
such a strange texture to the whole thing. Like one of the final bosses in Pocket Tales he's Siegfried. He's a stone golem, but Evil Acorn, the main baddie in the game, refers to this stone head, like an Incan ruin, as his best friend.
Yeah. By the way, golems are supposedly Jewish in nature, so I don't really know how they get like a Mayan temple out of that. But okay.
Yeah. That was another weird thing on behalf of the Conker's Pocket Tales team. Like, this is not a golem.
Anyway, so
A golem is someone who comes out of a dump truck and guards the homeless.
now let's not reference the time that we had a golem monster made out of trash in season 6, or that time we fought.
Oh, you're referring to Arcadia.
I'm referring to Arcadia, or the time we fought a golem, I think in season 4, that was attacking enemies of a Jewish community in New York City.
That was a terrible episode.
Yeah,
Arcadia was pretty good,
great.
but the first
but,
golem
anyway.
one. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I love Pocket Tales, and I like. Now we never saw what really like led Conker to become the hard drinking character he became in Bad Fur Day. There is a missing link there. We've inferred, or at least I have, that he and Barry, when they started their relationship, presumably right after the end of Pocket Tales, they were just toxic for each other. Like they were not a good fit romantically, and they led each other to ruin.
Yeah.
Which, they were a terrible couple on Bad Fur Day, and they made some terrible decisions together. So I don't think that's that's too far off. But would a game that takes place before Bad Fur Day that you could theoretically put place between the two, Pocket Tales and Bad Fur Day, would it really work if it's not even paying any mind to Pocket Tales? I don't know that.
My worry isn't even really about referencing the past games. It's that the most interesting thing about Bad Fur Day, and the thing that gives it that staying power amid all the early 2000s and late 90s film references, which date it significantly, is the fact that it actually has an arc to it, and it ends in an unexpected place, and you feel like you've had an experience with the character. But a game with the premise of young Conker runs the risk of the same problem the Star Wars prequels have. You know where he winds up. He just becomes a squirrel that goes to the bar sometimes and drinks and has a toxic relationship with his girlfriend. There's nothing interesting to say. We all know where he winds up before Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, and I would also argue that unfortunately nobody really remembers the arc in Bad Fur Day. When they think of Bad Fur Day, they think poop monster. They think, they think about the profanity and crudeness. They don't realize that the last portion of the game takes on a decidedly more mature tone. Mature as in like subject matter. And Conker ultimately learns a very sobering. I was going to say powerful, but that might be overstating it a bit. He's sad because his girlfriend died, and the grass is always greener. It's not really. Right. It's not really Shakespeare, but it's.
I was going to try and be pithy and say that it's not profanity, it's profundity. But you're right. That's very far from profound.
Yeah, it's shallow, but it's still considering what game it is and what came before. It's still kind of. I don't know. It's like a sock in the jaw. You're not really expecting the game to take that direction, and that's where it gains its power from.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you're completely blindsided by really. We talked about this before.
We've talked about this all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, the nighttime section of the game is really a tonal shift, and the fact that it's such a stark day-night divide. Conker's Bad Fur Day is improvisational, we've come to learn. A lot of the scenarios are just from Robin Beanland and Chris Seaver riffing in a recording booth. But it seems like that was an intentional shift, because it is that you don't get a lot of those mature themes peppered into the first half of the game, nor is the second half completely filled with dick and fart jokes.
Right. And obviously Bad Fur Day is not really aged as well as some of the other Rare Classic, for us at least. I mean, when you compare it to the works of the Greg Mayles team, Banjo-Tooie's only gotten better the longer we've played it, but
yeah,
Conker's Bad Fur Day, you kind of see the seams. You kind of realize what it is. It's not, this stellar platformer. It's an interactive movie essentially for the N64.
Yeah. It's a bunch of little mini games strung together with a platforming mechanic.
Which is why I didn't mind Project Spark, because that's all that was in Big Reunion.
Yeah. And they've been pretty open in saying that, like, really the reward in Conker isn't the money, it's getting to see another cutscene.
Right. Which Sakurai would then, therefore, decide to remove all the cutscenes in the next game because people are just watching them on YouTube.
Yeah, you can't have that.
No, you don't want to entertain people.
Yeah.
Jesus, bitterness still runs deep.
You're not allowed to have fun when playing Smash Brothers.
I didn't realize Sakurai was in Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Wait, what?
It just sounded like
how could you have any?
Yeah, it was that voice.
Yeah, kind of. You did a male version. Yeah. Anyway, or a deeper male version of that voice. Yeah. So. We're very endeared to the nighttime portions of Bad Fur Day, especially its war and the lessons learned thereafter. But nobody really remembers that. They remember its war. They remember, he's fighting the teddies, but they don't remember like the scene with him and the general floating away from the island where they're talking about the horrors of war.
War is a terrible thing,
Yeah. They don't talk about. You might have lip service to the ending, but you don't really hear it talked about as like the culmination of the arc of the character. So when people talk about a new Conker game, like our idea for a Conker sequel, we've mentioned before, would be essentially Dante's Inferno, where, and it would be Conker would take that maturity he gained, and it wouldn't necessarily be dick and fart jokes. It would be something a little bit deeper, maybe. Still playing with the M rating, but using that to tell, a story, not just be crass.
Yeah,
and
it occurs to me that in the one sequel from Rare that we did get for Conker's Bad Fur Day, it went from war is a terrible thing to future war.
Yeah. The whole selling point of that game was, hey, war is pretty fun, right?
Yeah, shoot people.
Again, it was post 9/11, Chad.
Right.
Everybody loved war then.
We all wanted to be violent.
Yes. So anytime the notion of a new Conker game comes up, that's my concern. They're not going to understand the character. We've even argued, does Chris Seaver even realize where he took the character and where the character should be following it? So in that regard, I'm kind of okay with if it's a prequel, because at least there's kind of like, I think Project Spark nailed where Conker should be 10 years after the fact. So if we have to get a new Conker game, maybe set it a little bit before Bad Fur Day and kind of sidestep that. But at the same time, will it steamroll Pocket Tales? So those are my concerns.
Okay, well, let's see if our next listener shares those concerns.
Hey guys, ACZ here, and about that young Conker rumor, a bit odd, huh? Sort of came out of nowhere, like most DKU games are this year, sort of catching everyone off guard. I mean, who would have thought that after the sort of failed bubble that was Big Reunion, that Microsoft would actually try again, supposedly. But I guess that brings us up to the main question that I've been thinking about. From what I've seen, most people are not that negative about Young Conker so far. It may be just I'm not looking hard enough, but it seems like this time around, since Conker's not cameoing in the game, it seems like people are much more excited about this announcement, seeing it more as an official Conker game more than, just sticking Conker in a user-generated game. and telling people that it's actually, a Conker game. So, I'd like to know your thoughts. Have you really seen any very negative reception? And, well, just how weird is it that we might be getting another Conker game this soon after us thinking that we might never see another Conker game again? Anyway, that's about it. See ya.
Thank you, ACZ.
Yes, thank you. Well, honestly, I have not seen any reaction outside of DK Vine. I don't go like lurking on NeoGAF or whatever.
I saw some pretty rough YouTube stuff, and I know treat it accordingly when you're on YouTube comments. But yeah, people have, from what I've seen outside the sphere, there have been a lot of positive comments about the idea of another Conker game, but what it's also done as an unfortunate side effect is, rip off what seemed to be a pretty thoroughly healing scab that is Rare is incapable of making a game with any of their old intellectual properties. It's just that whole like unnecessary, toxic, and completely inaccurate narrative that is kind of again like an unfortunate side effect of the Platonic fan base. It's like all of this whole idea that Rare is incapable of of making a Banjo game or a Conker game. I think that people think Rare is a lot bigger than it is, and to make a game on the scale of Sea of Thieves kind of takes almost the whole studio,
Well, they don't realize that Rare was able to make so many games back in the day because that was before. I keep saying back in the day like I'm fucking 70.
Yeah.
But the Rare was able to make so many games so fast in the 90s because the whole industry was different back then.
Well, yeah, you didn't have to worry about HD graphics. You didn't have to worry about, super high fidelity sound quality and voice acting. The standards, by virtue of the limited hardware requirements, were much lower. So you could have a Super Nintendo team with 8 people. You could Banjo-Kazooie was able to get made with 14 people. Platonic is able to do what they're doing with such a small team only because they're using the Unity engine, and they've been pretty upfront with that they just get to focus on the creative stuff. But I would go out on a limb and say Sea of Thieves is going to be a much larger scope project than Yooka-Laylee.
Oh, everything we're hearing points to that, and it's not a knock towards Yooka-Laylee because
nor is it a competition.
No, but because I'm already there seems to be this war brewing between the two, fan generated war, I should point out. But Sea of Thieves I think is going to be the overly more ambitious game just by virtue of what it is. But I mean that's not to knock against Yooka-Laylee because Yooka-Laylee is doing what it's doing and has a clear directive, and that's to rekindle the old magic of the Banjo-Kazooie. So whatever. But
all I'm trying to say is I think people have a hard time understanding that Rare I don't think they have they're just not big enough to have 2 giant scale games in development in parallel. That's just not how the studio's constructed anymore.
They're also not an IP mill. They're not like chained up to a radiator. Gotta Grant, make a new Banjo game. They don't do that. They're making the games they want to make, and yes, they want to make Sea of Thieves. I mean, how is that not obvious that this is the game they really want to make? They don't necessarily want to make a new Banjo game right now. Maybe in the future.
Now, they did recently relaunch their website, and along with that came a lot of new job postings, and they were almost all in the creative and technical disciplines, engineers, lighting artists, that kind of thing. So they could be expanding, I'm sure. They are expanding. The question is, are those going to Sea of Thieves, as the job postings say? Or are they going for the Sea of Thieves follow-up project, which if Sea of Thieves is coming out in November, or just in 2016 in general, this would probably be around the time when they start scaling up a small team working, going from that proof of concept phase into something a little more tangible.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's working at Rare right now.
Yeah,
I could see like Sea of Thieves being the main team and then the secondary team starting to get the ball rolling on something else.
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. We've kind of heard rumors to that effect even late last year. So I wouldn't be surprised, but
whether it's Conker, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that brings to mind who is actually making this game, because is it Rare? Because look, my whole thing about this Young Conker thing coming out of nowhere like it has, assuming there is fire to the smoke, it's when did they decide to make this thing? Because if it's already on the Windows Store, that hints towards if they already have professional wrestlers recording dialogue, that hints towards it being nearing completion, right?
Right. And the Microsoft is in a really tough spot here, because if it is just someone who was testing out some random text and they thought it would be funny to do a Young Conker as their test, and it actually got out into the public site, there's nothing that Microsoft can do to walk that back without being the recipient of way more fan ire than if they just hope that it goes away.
Right. Unfortunately, a lot of the old school Rare fan base is determined to still hate Microsoft and treat them like the great Satan. When we know that a lot of that anger is misguided, especially in this era where we have St. Phil Spencer, Craig Duncan. It's like there's no reason to hate the current infrastructure besides the fact that you want to hate it. So,
you know what's funny? I think I don't think this thought has ever crystallized until just now, but I want to say that, Rare has now been with Microsoft longer than they were with Nintendo.
Yeah.
I mean, Rare is now, for the majority of its time, under like a single kind of, how would you put it, an exclusive console platform or company. Yeah, it's been longer with Microsoft.
So that's you're getting old, Chad. You're getting old.
I know. I mean, I'm thinking back, like, they put out Slalom on the NES, but then they were also flirting with the Genesis. Like they were doing like little one-offs occasionally, and really it was Donkey Kong Country that solidified their relationship with Nintendo.
It was the whole ACM, the Silicon Graphics workstation that made Nintendo buy into Rare, have a stake in the company,
and that was really just about 10 years, and we're well past that with Microsoft.
9 years, I would say, maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tangent, and just get over it, people. Good Lord, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. But okay, so I don't think it's Rare, because from in my mind, like, did they start this concurrently with Big Reunion? Or was it after Big Reunion? Or was it after Rare Replay? Because we know they've been gauging like who plays what in Rare Replay and what's popular. If Conker has been getting like boffo numbers in Rare Replay as far as people going to Conker, playing it, then did that like spark, no pun intended, this project? And
we know that Conker was the number one played game, at least. So Rare posted like an infographic last year. And Bad Fur Day, that was number one.
It's not surprising. So that could, I could see Microsoft saying, well, okay, people want a standalone Conker game. Let's give them that.
Right.
I can't see Rare being the ones who make it. And the only reason I say that, Rare is completely capable of making one if they wanted to. But without Chris Seaver there, I don't think anybody... I don't see Chris Seaver being involved in this project, and I don't see Rare being involved in this project either. That's just an educated guess. I don't really have no way of knowing.
I don't think that Chris Seaver would necessarily be excluded or even exclude himself, because he seemed to be game enough to provide...
I'm sure they would extend the olive branch to at least come back and voice Conker. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, and he did it for Project Spark, and that seemed to work out okay. The problem that I think they would run into. We talked about this when we were discussing Project Spark last year, is that Conker's Bad Fur Day was lightning in a bottle. It was largely improvisational, and unless you put Chris Seaver and Robin Beanland in a room together, you probably aren't going to get anything approaching the original game. And as in a lot of improv, it might just turn out to be kind of bad. You never know, really.
Or you could have an extremely polished Conker game that's hilarious, that surpasses the original Bad Fur Day in every way.
Sure, you could also have that, or you could also have an extremely polished Bad Fur Day that is more clever than funny. You might have something that is just, it's too tightly constructed to have that kind of universal television Rick and Morty kind of vibe to it, which I know that's a reference to an episode you haven't seen yet. Hyle, for the love of fuck, watch Rick and Morty.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. The X-Files has been on TV, and been watching that. Been watching that O.J. Simpson show on FX.
Yeah.
Spoiler alerts. His
honestly,
wife dies.
You could have watched 2 Rick and Mortys in the same time it took you to watch Tad O'Malley get his groove back. So,
I can't wait for Tad O'Malley to come back in the finale. Oh yeah.
I hope they make action figures of Tad O'Malley.
Well, we have another call, right?
We do. Shall we take it?
Let's take it.
Hello, fellas. Harvey Firestein here. I'm just calling to ask you a few questions about the new Conker game. I know that it might be a prequel, or it might be. Conker's son! Oh, I can't wait to see that. Oh, I better call my brother. I better call my lawyer. I better call my jeweler.
Well, thank you for the call, Harvey.
Maybe we'll see Conker's mother.
By the way, we do stream these Kongversations for our $5 patrons live on Twitch. And one of the folks in our chat, the ACZ, who called earlier in the show to hear his own voice, has pointed out that Chris Seaver did retweet the rumor.
Did he?
Yeah. I didn't clock that fact. That's interesting.
Okay, but if he retweeted the rumor, I would say he's not involved with it.
That's a good point, too, because that would be a violation of an NDA.
Yes, unless he had permission to retweet it.
Or unless he's just a loose cannon, which I wouldn't put past Chris Seaver.
He might know things, which he probably would, but he might not be bound by anything, so he could just be going rogue.
Yeah. Who knows? There is
literally, we can come up with any explanation for anything and apply it to this situation. So, okay. So, would you be okay if it wasn't made by Rare, Chad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. I honestly, if we want any fidelity to Pocket Tales, I think it being not made by Rare, you have a bigger chance of that, considering that there's nobody really left at Rare that really worked on Pocket Tales or has much recollection of it.
Wait, are you saying that the Platonic of Pocket Tales would need to? So you're saying like David Wong and Kerry Gunn and like they all need to get the band back together to make. Oh my God!
What if they formed a new studio under Microsoft Game Studios that was made entirely of the old Pocket Tales team just to make this game?
It would be such a train wreck. maybe
that's pie in the sky thinking, but no, I would be fine. I've often said I would be fine if a non-Rare studio, if it Killer Instinct it, essentially that's what
good devs.
That's what Big Reunion essentially was. It had the Rare stamp of approval, but it was made not by Rare. It was made by Team Dakota, and I loved it. Most people hated it without giving it a chance. Bully for them.
The problem is that it's tough to make a game like Conker that's so cutscene heavy in an engine like Project Spark.
They did a great job for what they had, though.
What they had, yeah. It doesn't hold a candle to what Agent Ape is doing, but it was pretty good.
Well, Agent Ape's also had about a year or so to work on it, so.
Yeah, but he also had to ramp up and figure out how to use Project Spark, and they developed it.
Yeah.
Honestly, but that's the benefit of having a creation utility as opposed to a game. The public is always going to find more interesting ways to do it. That's not to the fault of Team Dakota.
Harvey Firestein also brought up the idea that it could be Conker's son, that young Conker could be like Conker Jr., which I don't know how I feel about that. Might be... I mean, sure, why not? I mean, maybe he reproduced. I mean, he's got to get over berries at some point, right? He probably already has, so...
It's been a while.
It's been a while, you know?
He's had much more time in his life without Barry than with Barry.
That's right. And he's a squirrel, so he likes to bury his seed.
That's true. And when he can't bury and bury, he's got to look elsewhere.
That's right. So, and final thoughts on Young Conker rumors. What do you think? What do you make out of this? What can you tell the public who turned to us for our insights?
All right. Are you ready for this, Hyle?
I'm ready for it. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
There's literally no way to know.
You know, folks, I've read your Twitters, your Facebooks, your emails. I know you people missed me. And quite frankly, I missed myself. And this next little part is something for the history books. Something for VHS, for DVD, for Blu-ray, for freaking YouTube. There's only one way to do this, and it goes a little something like this. Weighing in tonight at an absolutely freaking astonishing 235 1/4 pound. He hails from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Wait for it. Wait for it. Anderson!
Now that's what I call a bowel movement.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.